In the 418th year since the founding of the ancient kingdom of Ko-Lak, a mystical land hidden among jungles and mountains, nestled between two great rivers where people lived by farming, hunting, and worshipping nature spirits, strange omens began to emerge. The full moon turned blood-red 3 times within 1 month. Birds flew in circles, confused and restless. Fish floated lifeless across the surface of the sacred Ngu River, a river said to carry the breath of the ancestors. The sky, once vast and blue, was now sealed under a thick, unmoving veil of black clouds, no rain, no wind, just a haunting stillness. Fear spread across the land. Village elders summoned shamans, priests, and oracles from all corners of the realm to pray and offer tributes. But barely had the incense smoke risen toward the sky, when a monstrous thunderstorm struck. Trees crashed to the ground. Torrents of floodwaters swept away crops. Amid the chaos, a blinding star streaked across the sky and crashed into the forbidden forest in the west. The night lit up like day for 3 full days and nights. The people called it the Divine Star, an omen foretold in stone tablets carved during the reign of the first Hung king. One ancient prophecy inscribed in forgotten script read, "When the divine star falls into the sacred woods, heaven's child shall return to earth. He shall wear no crown, hold no throne, but kings and tyrants will tremble at his light." In a remote hamlet named Tuong Sun, near the edge of the forbidden forest, lived a blind widow named Ludung. She had lived alone in a thatched hut for decades, surviving by harvesting herbs and communicating with the forest spirits through whispered prayers and songs. Though blind since she was 16, her healing abilities were renowned. People claimed she could speak to the roots and cure with words. On the night the star fell, Ludung was struck with violent labor pains. No one knew she was with child. She hadn't left the forest in over 20 years. Under the light of the divine star, beneath the towering heaven tree, a sacred tree said to host the spirit of the sky every century, she gave birth to a baby boy. The newborn did not cry. His eyes opened wide, glowing faintly. When his tiny fingers brushed his mother's face, a flash of light surged, and Ludung could see again for the first time in decades. News spread like wildfire. Villagers came in droves to witness the miracle. The child had a distinct red mark on his forehead, shaped like the sun spiraling within a dragon's tail, identical to the mark carved on the stone idols in the ancient temple of Lin Sun, where the guardian deity of the realm was worshipped. Some bowed and worshipped the child, believing he was a divine being. Others murmured in fear, claiming he was a demon child, born from forbidden magic. The village elders gathered under the heaven tree that same night. One retrieved a crumbling book bound in bark and inked with ancient bone script. In it lay a forgotten prophecy. A child born from the sacred roots, when sky and earth collide, shall be the last saint king. He shall wield no army, wear no royal name, but gods and demons alike will yield before him. Strange wonders began to manifest. Rain returned to the drought-ravaged plains. Dead trees bloomed green overnight. A plague that had plagued the western settlements for months suddenly vanished. Whispers grew louder. Was this child the fulfillment of prophecy? Or was he a harbinger of doom? But not everyone rejoiced. Word reached the ears of King Fong Hao, a tyrant from the capital who had long been obsessed with forbidden rituals. It was said he sought immortality and had begun draining the life force from his own servants to prolong his reign. When he heard of the heaven-born child with divine signs, he sent hunters, monks, and occult agents to retrieve the boy, dead or alive. Fearing for her son's life, Ludung fled in the night, cradling the infant as she ran deep into the forest. She crossed rivers, thorny paths, and serpent-filled glades to reach a place few dared to enter, the empty grove, a sacred land said to echo with the voices of vanished ancestors. There, she encountered an old man cloaked in silence. His beard flowed like silver rain. His eyes carried the weight of wars and dynasties. He was a hermit, once a grand chancellor of the court, who had abandoned politics after seeing the corruption of men. When he laid eyes on the child, he whispered, This light, it is heaven's last mercy. But the brighter it shines, the darker the shadow that follows. Let me raise him not as a god, but as a man, so that he may choose his path, not have it carved by others. And so, in the heart of the forest, beneath ancient trees and forgotten chants, Lac Minh, the child born of the divine star, was raised far from the eyes of kings, prophets, and swords. But destiny was already watching. The boy was named Lac Minh, meaning, the light that guides Ko Lac. He was raised deep within the heart of the forbidden forest, far from cities, courts, and bloodshed. Under the care of the old hermit, known only as Master Veen, Lac Minh grew up surrounded not by people, but by whispers of the wind, the rustling of trees, and the silent teachings of the earth itself. Master Veen was no ordinary man. Though he wore rags and lived in solitude, he had once stood beside kings. His hands had once written royal edicts, and his voice had once determined the fate of generals. But he had abandoned it all. Now, he taught the boy the old ways, not of war or politics, but of balance. Every morning, Lac Minh meditated beneath the heaven tree, listening to the breath of the forest. By noon, he was learning to read the ancient scripts, the runes of Ko Lac's ancestors, forgotten by most. By evening, he trained his body, not to fight others, but to control himself. Yet there was one thing Master Veen could not teach, the dreams. From the age of 5, Lac Minh began having vivid visions in his sleep. They weren't like ordinary dreams. They were too real. He would wake up sweating, trembling, repeating words he had never heard before. Sometimes, he dreamt of standing on mountaintops, surrounded by crowds who knelt before him. Other nights, he saw cities in flames, with a monstrous shadow towering above, calling his name. And on some nights, he dreamt of the divine star, still burning in the sky, chasing him endlessly. One morning, after a dream so intense that it caused the leaves around him to wither, Lac Minh finally asked Master Veen. "Why do I see things before they happen? Why do I speak in voices I don't understand?" Master Veen, now frail with age, stared into the boy's eyes for a long time before replying. "Because your soul does not only belong to you. It is ancient. It remembers things from before your birth. And perhaps from before time itself." He then opened a hidden chest carved with symbols no longer spoken aloud. Inside was a scroll, aged, brittle, and sealed with a knot of dragon sinew. He had kept it hidden for over 40 years. This is the Song of Returning Light, one of the last prophecies of the ancients. Only one who dreams in fire and speaks in silence can read it. You may be the one. Lac Minh unrolled the scroll. At first, the script looked like gibberish, squiggles written by a child. But as he stared at it, the shapes began to shift. The words pulsed with light, and suddenly, he understood them, not just in his mind, but in his very bones. The prophecy read: "When kings fall to dust and gods refuse to answer, a child born of root and star shall rise. His voice shall split the storm. His shadow shall walk with fire. If he remembers who he is, the world shall live. If he forgets, all shall drown." Lac Minh dropped the scroll, breathless. The words echoed inside him, as though his soul was a drum being struck from the inside. Later that night, Master Veen confided in Ludung, who had stayed in a small shrine nearby to watch her son from a distance. "He is beginning to awaken," the old man said. "But I fear it is too soon. If the court hears of this, they will stop at nothing to take him. And the boy, he is not yet ready." Indeed, far away in the capital, dark rumors were already spreading. King Phong Hao had grown paranoid. He locked himself in his palace, whispering to shadows. He had summoned necromancers, tortured prophets, and consulted cursed texts. And they all spoke of a child born of light. A child who could dethrone him. In a cold tower lined with mirrors and serpents, the king whispered to his own reflection. "Find him. Burn the forests if you must. That same night, Lak Min had another dream. He stood before a black mirror, and in it, he saw himself, not as a child, but as a grown man wearing a cloak made of fireflies. Behind him were thousands of people holding torches. In his hand, he held no weapon, just a branch from the heaven tree, glowing like a sword of light. He woke up with tears in his eyes. The time of hiding was ending.